Catherine adjusted her jeweler's loupe as she examined what appeared to be an ordinary Victorian necklace brought in for appraisal at Walsh Fine Jewelry. To her client, she was simply an expert appraiser who could determine the piece's market value. But Catherine's trained eye recognized something that shouldn't exist: gemstones that matched a priceless collection stolen from the Metropolitan Museum 20 years ago. Her decades as an art crime unit detective were about to uncover an international theft network worth hundreds of millions. Welcome to Hidden Warriors. Tell me in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if stories like this prove heroes examine more than just precious stones, hit that subscribe button. Walsh Fine Jewelry occupied an elegant storefront in Boston's historic Back Bay district, where Catherine Walsh had been providing expert jewelry appraisals and authentication services for 15 years. Her reputation was built on meticulous attention to detail, extensive knowledge of precious stones and metals, and the ability to authenticate pieces that other appraisers found questionable. Catherine's clients included insurance companies, estate lawyers, and collectors who needed accurate valuations for pieces ranging from contemporary jewelry to historical artifacts. Her certifications from leading gemological institutes and her published research on antique jewelry made her the preferred appraiser for high-value items requiring specialized expertise. Her background showed former museum curator who had transitioned to private appraisal work after completing graduate studies in art history and gemology. Clean business license, excellent professional references, and the kind of scholarly credentials that made her evaluations accepted by courts and insurance companies worldwide. But Catherine's real identity was Detective Catherine Walsh, former art crime unit specialist who had spent 20 years investigating international art theft, jewelry heists, and cultural property crimes. Her expertise was recognizing stolen artifacts and tracing their movement through black market networks that operated across multiple countries. Her jewelry appraisal business wasn't career change, it was perfect cover for continued art crime investigation. Law enforcement agencies needed experienced personnel positioned where stolen artwork and jewelry would eventually surface for authentication, sale, or insurance claims by criminals seeking to legitimize their acquisitions. For 15 years, Catherine had used her appraisal practice to identify stolen pieces while providing legitimate services that helped honest collectors and inheritors understand the value and authenticity of their jewelry and art objects. Detective Catherine Walsh had joined the FBI's Art Crime Unit in 1995 during expansion of federal efforts to combat international trafficking in stolen cultural property. Her training combined advanced art history education with criminal investigation techniques that allowed her to track stolen artifacts through complex networks of dealers, collectors, and criminal organizations. During her law enforcement career, Catherine had investigated major art thefts including museum heists, gallery robberies, and archaeological looting operations that involved artifacts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Her specialty was jewelry and decorative arts that could be broken down, modified, or incorporated into new pieces to disguise their stolen origins. Catherine's most significant cases involved international crime syndicates that specialized in stealing museum pieces and selling them to private collectors who either didn't know or didn't care about their criminal origins. These operations required sophisticated knowledge of art markets, authentication techniques, and legal systems across multiple countries. After her FBI career, Catherine worked with international organizations that specialized in recovering stolen cultural property and returning it to legitimate owners. Her expertise was particularly valuable for identifying pieces that had been altered or incorporated into new works to hide their stolen origins. Her jewelry appraisal business provided ideal cover for continuing this work in civilian settings, where stolen pieces would eventually surface when criminals attempted to sell them, or new owners sought insurance coverage or estate valuations for inherited collections. During a routine appraisal appointment, Catherine examined a Victorian necklace brought by a well-dressed woman who claimed it had been inherited from her grandmother's estate. The client, who identified herself as Margaret Stevens, was seeking insurance valuation for what she described as a family heirloom of uncertain provenance. Catherine's initial examination revealed that the necklace contained gemstones of exceptional quality and historical cutting techniques that indicated significant age and value. But her trained eye recognized specific characteristics that matched pieces from a famous collection stolen from the Metropolitan Museum of Art in 2003. Using techniques developed during her FBI career, Catherine discreetly photographed the piece and compared it to databases of stolen artwork that she maintained access to through law enforcement networks. The match was unmistakable. The necklace incorporated centerpiece stones from the Pemberton collection, one of the most significant jewelry thefts in museum history. Most concerning was that the necklace had been expertly modified to disguise its origins. The original setting had been completely reworked, additional stones had been added, and the overall design had been altered to make identification difficult. This level of sophistication indicated professional criminal organization rather than opportunistic theft. Catherine realized she was examining evidence of an international art theft network that had the resources and expertise to modify stolen pieces for resale to unknowing collectors. The client's calm demeanor and prepared story suggested she was either part of the criminal operation or an unwitting purchaser who had acquired the piece through legitimate channels. Her immediate challenge was completing the appraisal without alerting the client that the piece had been identified as stolen property, while gathering sufficient evidence to trace the criminal network responsible for the theft and modification. Catherine completed the jewelry appraisal using techniques that appeared routine, but allowed her to document every detail of the stolen pieces without alerting her client. Her decades of experience included protocols for gathering evidence about art crimes while maintaining operational security and protecting ongoing investigations. After the client left, Catherine activated secure communication systems to alert federal art crime investigators about the confirmed stolen artwork. Her report included detailed analysis of the modifications made to disguise the pieces and recommendations for tracing their path from the original theft to current possession. Catherine's investigation revealed that several other recent appraisal requests had involved pieces that showed similar modification techniques, suggesting she had encountered multiple items from the same criminal network. The sophistication of the alterations indicated access to master craftsmen and significant financial resources. Most importantly, Catherine identified patterns in the client's behavior and documentation that suggested coordinated effort to legitimize stolen pieces through professional appraisals. The criminals were using her reputation and expertise to create authentication records that would support future sales to unsuspecting collectors. Catherine began implementing expanded documentation procedures that would allow her to track suspicious pieces while maintaining her cover as a normal jewelry appraiser. Her shop became a crucial intelligence-gathering operation that could identify stolen artwork before it disappeared permanently into private collections. Her law enforcement experience proved essential for developing strategies that could trace the criminal network while building legal cases that would hold up in international courts, where jurisdiction and evidence standards varied significantly. Over the following months, Catherine identified stolen pieces worth over $50 million that had passed through her appraisal business, providing evidence that led to the arrest of an international art theft syndicate operating across 6 countries. Her documentation helped recover artifacts that had been missing for decades. Official reports credited improved cooperation between law enforcement agencies and art market professionals for identifying stolen cultural property before it could be sold to unknowing collectors. Catherine's role in the investigation remained classified to protect ongoing operations against similar criminal networks. Catherine's success led to expansion of similar monitoring operations nationwide, with jewelry appraisers and art dealers being recruited to identify stolen pieces during routine business operations. Her authentication techniques became standard protocols for recognizing modified stolen artifacts. 3 months after the arrests, Catherine received discreet commendation from international law enforcement agencies for her contribution to cultural property protection. Her work had prevented the permanent loss of irreplaceable historical artifacts and dismantled criminal operations that had been active for over 2 decades. Catherine continued her jewelry appraisal business with enhanced equipment and expanded mission parameters. But now her evaluations served dual purposes, protecting collectors from fraud while protecting cultural heritage from criminal exploitation. 6 months later, Catherine was approached by museums and cultural institutions seeking to establish similar monitoring networks for identifying stolen artifacts in commercial art markets. Her appraisal business became a model for protecting cultural property through professional expertise rather than traditional law enforcement approaches. Have you ever had jewelry appraised and wondered about the appraiser's background? The professionals whose expertise extends far beyond determining market value. Share your thoughts about the hidden protectors of our cultural heritage. Subscribe to Hidden Warriors for more stories of professionals whose work preserves more than just beauty and value. These are the heroes whose greatest discoveries protect our shared cultural legacy from those who would steal it. Next time you have jewelry appraised, remember that the expert examining your pieces might be protecting more than just your investment. They might be safeguarding treasures that belong to all of humanity.